Welcome to Blonde Cards and Crafts. Let's make something together. Hello crafters and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome back if you're a subscriber. Today we're going to work with the Christmas in June kit. This is an extra kit available to purchase in the Love from Lizi website. So today I'm going to make 5 cards, and our first card is this. It's an inside explosion card. You can make these any size you like. My one is going to finish up 5.5 by 5.5, and I like it that size because it'll fit into a 6x6 envelope, and that allows for the bit of bulk that we'll have from it. So I'm going to start with this. It's a piece of 11 by 5.5 cardstock. This is 300 GSM white cardstock that I'm using, and I'm scoring it at 2 3/4 and 8 1/4. Just do that one again. Lovely. So that's all our scoring that we need for this piece. Next I have this. It's a piece of the pattern paper that came in the kit, and this again is 11 by 5.5. We're going to score it again at 2 3/4 and 8 1/4, and we need to do some more scoring to this. Now I'm going to flip it over. It'll make it easier for you to see what we're going to do, and you can see it there in the screen, and I'm sure it looks a bit intimidating, but guys, it's so easy. I've put a little mark here at 5.5, and I've put another little mark here at 5.5. Now we also want to put a little mark here at 2 3/4 and here at 2 3/4, and I used my pencil to do that, and this is the back, so it won't be seen when it's stuck in to our card base. So the next thing we want to do is we want to do these 2 score lines that make up an X, and then these 2 score lines that again make up an X. So we're putting 2 X's through the middle of these 2 score lines. So what I find really easy to do, and you can see I have marked my scoreboard. I know a lot of YouTubers don't like to do it, but I don't mind. My scoreboard, my YouTube channel, do what I like. So I have this heavy blue line here, but I could use any of them. But I find if I put the top left hand corner into a track and I line up my 5.5 mark down here. So I've it lined up with my 5.5 mark at the bottom of my page and the top left hand corner. And if I score right down through there, that'll give me 1 score mark. Then I want to rotate it. So I'm bringing my left hand score line around, and I'm now coming to the 5.5 mark that I have put at the top of my page, and I'm going to join that up to the bottom left hand side, and I'm going to put my score line straight down through there, and now we'll have our X with our score line. So we want to do the exact same thing on the other side. So I'm going to line up my top right hand corner into my track, and I'm going to line my paper up at 5.5, which is the mark we have at the bottom, and I'm going to run my scoring tool all the way down through. Then I'm going to bring my top right hand corner down, so I'm back up to my middle 5.5 mark. I'm going to put that mark on my track, and then I'm going to rotate this around so that I have my bottom right corner in the track. So my bottom right corner to my center point at the top, my top right hand corner to my center point at the bottom, and that will give us our X score lines on the other side. So now we have this shape. So the next thing we want to do then is we want to do some folding. So with this middle one here, this middle one here, and this middle one here, we want to pull them forward. So I'm going to turn it round because you'll be doing it this way. So we're teasing our paper now into shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to push this score line forward and we're going to pull this one back. So we're making a valley, a mountain, and a valley. And we're going to tease these into place. Now the great thing about this pattern paper is it's a nice lightweight paper. If you were doing this with 300 GSM cardstock, you'd struggle. So again, I'm going to do the same with the bottom. Now I find it handier and easier if I turn it around, press that one there in the middle towards me and pull these two back. So we're making a valley, a mountain, and a valley. And you'll see then, if you turn them this way and bring those two mountains together, this part here will flatten down. Now they're going to come into a point here, so you need to help this along. So again, we're going to pull our two mountains in and push our valleys down. And again, just help to tease the paper or the cardstock there into the middle. And there we go. There is one side done. And we'll just burnish those edges. So let's do that again now on this side. So I'm pushing my mountain fold forward and I'm pulling my valley folds back. So they'll go in like so. Then I'm going to turn it around and do the same thing again. I'm pushing my mountain fold forward, pushing my valley folds back, and then bring it into the middle there and push the whole lot forward towards you, and you'll have this shape. And this then becomes your inside explosion. Isn't that so cool? It's a form of origami folding, but I just think it's wonderful. So if we take our card base and we fold over our little gate folds, then we can pop this inside and the whole thing should fold. Now if you find your pattern paper, see these edges here, if you find that they're coming out a little bit, well then what you need to do is just trim them down. Now I could have given you a shorter size, but it doesn't really work well when you do it like that. You need to actually do it when it's in the card base. So you could just glue that down like that, but if you push that corner down in here, you'll see that there is a very tiny, see there, there's a very tiny amount that goes over. So we want to trim off our ends now. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring this to my trimmer and I'm going to trim off about 1/16, literally a teeny tiny bit off each edge. So I'm going to do that now. So these are my two little slivers that I took, one off this end and one off this end. Those two there. So there really are tiny little slivers, literally 1/16 or less. So when you put them in here now and your cardstock joins up, you'll be able to glue that down like so. And then when you close your gate folds, the whole thing will fold in and sit in nicely like so. So that is the explosion part, the fun part. Now we can put something interesting here. And for that, I've taken some of the decoupage sheets. I'm going to use this little robin here because it's going to fit nicely in there like so. The decoupage sheets, if you're not familiar with them, they come like this. They have numbers on them. You pop each one of your pieces out. So you'll put foam pads behind this one and sit it on top, then foam pads behind this and sit it on top, and then behind each of the birds and sit them on top. So you get a layered piece like this. You can put as many layers as you like. You can do just 2. You can glue them all down if you want, or you can do all the layers. Like on this page there's 5 layers. Now with this one I've only put 3 layers on because that's all I wanted to do. I don't want to have too much bulk there. When I put this in here, I want it to close. Now there will be some bulk in there from our folded paper anyway. So, you know, this will go in a bouncy envelope. That's why I make mine 5.5 by 5.5 and put them in a 6 by 6 envelope, because there's enough room then in the envelope for my card to fit. So that is going to go in here. Now I do have some pattern pieces here. So with this, a lot of the card makers, what they do is they put some pattern paper in here and here, here and here, and the same at the bottom. And they cut their little triangle pieces to fit. But I find that too much like hard work, guys. I really do. So what I do is I cut 4 pieces of pattern paper. And these all measure, let me just make sure, 2.5 by 5.25. Yep. And I'm going to put 2 of these on the outside like so, and then I'm going to put 2 of them on the inside. I've also got this piece which measures 5.25 by 5.25, and I'm going to pop that in here. Now when I put my explosion piece in there, we'll have the inside decorated. And it saves us having to do all the math, because to be honest with you, I'm not great at math. I don't like it. I stay away from it. I can do it, I just don't really want to. So yeah, this is the easy way. There are ways that you can work out, and there's lots of videos showing you. So I'm delighted with that. I have those 2 pieces. Now I've also this piece. This is an offcut. It's about 3/4 of an inch by 5.25. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that on the back here, just like that. I'm going to stamp a sentiment. There are lots of sentiments on the decoupage sheets that we got. There's also, we got so many vellum sheets with lots of embossed, gold embossed and black. They're like embossed or stamped sentiments. You could use one of them, cut them out. Now I have taken 2 sentiments in the gold to pick up on the gold in my pattern paper and on my little piece here, and I'm going to put these on the inside. So you could again take another one and stick that on the back. I find the best way to stick these in is just to put adhesive on the whole thing and then stick it on, and it looks fine. Some people just put the adhesive behind the lettering, but I'm a kind of girl that puts it on the whole of the back and stick it down. So that is our pattern paper. That is our card style, our vellum sentiments. That's everything we need to make this. Now you can put a belly band around this, just a piece of cardstock that you can wrap around and it can slide on and off. To be honest, I don't think it needs it, because when it goes into the envelope it's held in place. The person who pulls this out will pull it out and it'll automatically want to open. This card is all about the inside, it's not about the outside, so I won't do anything more than put pattern paper on the front. It's all about what's going on inside. So that's it. This is our inside explosion card. I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to speed up assembling this, and then I'll come back to you when we have finished. So the next piece we need to stick down is this piece. Now you can just stick down the sides here and have the rest of it floating free, but I have to say that is not my preferred way of doing it. I like to stick this diamond shaped panel down and then stick the sides on. So the best thing to do is maybe make a little mark using a ruler and a pencil, because you'll need to make sure that it is centered in there, or you can just fold the whole thing down like so, and making sure that your corners here are right up to the score lines at the side, and your points are top and bottom to your card base, it should fit in perfectly. So that's how I like to do it. But you can put a little mark at the top and bottom there if you want to do it while it's open, but I find this way just as easy. As I said, there's lots of videos on YouTube with ways of doing it, and I just find this way for me is the easiest. So again, this is our piece open. We're going to bring it in so it's closed. We're going to have our top and bottom there, and then we're going to make sure that our corner here on the left and right is right between our two score lines. So once you have that done, that should be it then in nice and straight. And then when you open it up, it should open like so. So I'm happy with that now. The next thing I want to do is add some liquid adhesive to this triangle and this triangle. So now when adding this piece on, add glue to this triangle. Add glue to this triangle here, and then bring this up to then meet your corners, keeping it just back a tiny little bit from the edge. So you can see there I have a little bit from the edge. I'm going to push that down there and then close it over, and that closes beautifully. Now I have a little gap between my gatefolds, but I'm not too worried about that, to be honest, because we have a little bit of bulk there in the corners, so it kind of presses them back a little bit. But you can see there then our piece will open beautifully. Now just give that a minute for the glue to set, and I'm going to do that now. I'm going to give it a minute for the glue to set. So now my glue has set, and when I open my doors, they look lovely. I'm delighted with that. It does look beautiful. So now we want to embellish the inside, and I'm going to go ahead now and do that using my little robin piece, and I have here my little Happy Christmas and from our house to yours. I've also taken some of the little robins that came on this decoupage sheet, so I'm going to embellish the inside of my card with that too. So this piece can get glued down. I was going to put this inside card number 2, but I kind of preferred it for in this card, so hence the reason you can see card 2 on that. So now I've got my glue on here, and I'm just going to center that. I'm going to use the points here at the top and bottom so I can make sure I get it nice and centered. And then it's just a matter of making sure I have the same gap here and here as what I have here and here. And I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks straight enough. Lovely. So I'll leave that now to set. And then I was going to put from our house to yours in here, and then Happy Christmas in here, and they just fit. And then I'll have the little robins. I thought I could pop a little robin up there, and a little robin then this one on the other side there. So I'll definitely use the 2 of those inside, and then this one I'm going to put on the back with my sentiment for the back as well. So now I have my sticker made. All I have to do is peel off the backing. And this is so much easier than using liquid adhesive. And now I can pop that into the middle of my card. And I think that's about centered there. Yeah, and then I can add a little pressure to that. And I just need to add a little adhesive now to my little bird, my little robin. And again, we could have our little robin sitting on our sentiment like we do on the inside. So we could have it there. I do like that. I do like that a lot. So there we go. There is our inside explosion card, which will fit in a 6x6 envelope. It opens like so. We have lots of glitter on our decoupage piece. We have our lovely panels then behind, and we have our sentiments either side, and then on the back we have our sentiment again with our little robin and our strip at the bottom. And all the measurements for the pieces that I have used will be down in the description down below, so don't panic. Card 1 measurements are down below, and I put a timestamp, so if you wanted to particularly make, we'll say card 3, you can see in the description it'll say card 3 what time it's at, so you can just skip to that point in the video and you'll have all the measurements in the description for that card as well, and the same with all of them. So that's it, folks. I'm going to leave that card there. That is card number 1, using our fabulous Christmas in June extra kit available at Love from Lizi's. And from recording this video, there are kits available. I leave a link in the description down below to the kit in the Love from Lizi website shop. I'm all fingers and thumbs. So that's it. I'm going to move on now to card number 2. So for card number 2, we're going to make a stepper card, and this one is going to fit inside a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 envelope. So it'll be an American 2 style size, but it won't quite be that size. It'll actually be a little bit smaller. So I have a piece of cardstock here, and this piece measures 12 by 5. Okay, so I've scored this at 1, 2, 3 1/2, 5, and 8 1/2. I'm going to do a mountain fold, a valley fold, a mountain fold, a valley fold, and a mountain fold, and this will give us our stepper card. Now you can put a little piece between these two here and here if you need some to, but I really find that they don't need it. Once you burnish these edges really well, they should be fine, but it really is up to you if you want to add a little piece in here. For me, I want to have my message for the inside of my card in here, so I'm going to have that set like that, so it'll sit like this. Right, next I'm going to add some pieces to this. So first of all, I have this piece of pattern paper. It measures 4 3/4 by 3 1/4, and it's going to sit in here. I then have these two pieces. These pieces, they measured 5 inches by 2 inches, and what I've done is I just freehand cut what looks like snowdrifts on them, because I want to put one here. This is going to go on the front, and then one here. Now when you're cutting these pieces, you see this one I have cut down. If I was to put that in there, you can see the top and you can see the corner. So make sure when you're doing your snowdrifts that you allow enough, which is what I have done. So this piece is going to sit on here, and it's going to be flush at the bottom, and then this piece is going to go in here. So when this card stands up, it'll look like this. We'll have our steps there and our pattern piece. Now I'm going to embellish this using decoupage, but I'm not going to do what I did in card 1 and layer up my decoupage with foam. I'm actually going to put each layer onto one of these levels. So I've taken this decoupage set and I want to put this one here. I'm going to add some foam behind this and put it on here like so. Now, what I want to do is I want to make sure that when my card is set here like this, I want this to be 4 1/4. So the bottom of my card will come down here. This is 4 1/2. This is 4 1/4. So when I add this piece on, I'm going to pop it on so it sits like that. So that then will give me my 5. It should be 5 1/2, but it gives me room for my bulk. So my card will measure 5 across by 4 1/4 long. And then that will fit in an envelope. So that's what I'm going to do with that. Now, my second layer, or my first snowdrift here, is going to have this piece. This is the decoupage piece number 2. Now, this piece it pops out, so it looks like so. And all I did was I fussy cut the bottom off it. So that then is going to sit on my snowbank. Now, when this is closed down, I'm going to layer the two up like so that they'll match. And then on this one, I'm going to put the third layer of decoupage on here. So when this one is flat down, so when it's closed, it'll sit on there like so. And our little reindeer will sit on there like so. So I'm going to make sure that they all line up once it's closed. And then when you open the card, you'll have all these layers will pop up. I have one of the sentiments then, Happy Christmas here. I'm going to add that down here on this piece. And then I have 2 of the little hedgehogs. And I thought they would be fun. Rather than building up the layer there, I thought I would use these just around my little piece here. So I know we don't see hedgehogs at Christmas time because they're hibernating, but in our card we have hedgehogs. So that is the premise for this card. I'm going to go ahead now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my pattern paper to the back here. I'm going to add my 2 snowdrifts, and then I'm going to start putting down my layers. So I'm going to move my scoreboard out of the way, set everything up, and then we'll come back. And then I can add a sentiment in here as well. And for that, I'm going to use one of the gold foiled sentiments. So I can just peel off the release paper now on my double-sided tape. And I'm just going to use my tweezers as it makes it easier to apply it. And you could put it up there at the top. It gives you plenty of room for your message. Or there, I think I'm going to put it here. And that will give me plenty of room then. I just want to make sure it's straight. I think that's pretty much straight. Well, we're locked in now, so again, I'll just add a bit of pressure behind that. And now I have lots of room to write my message here. So there we go. There is our stepper card. Isn't that fun? And something different to do with decoupage rather than just lining it up together. And I have to say, looking at this straight on now, it looks really cool with the 3 different layers. I really do like it. It's very different, I think. So that's it. That is card number 2. Let's move on now to card number 3. So now we're moving on to card 3, and this is again going to be a stepper card similar to the style we did in card 2. This one though is a little bit more complex. We're going to do some scoring and some cutting on this piece. So this is going to make a 5 by 7 stepper card, and for that we're going to need a piece of 10 by 7. On the 10-inch side, we want to do some score lines. Now, I have a Tim Holtz ruler here, and I find this so handy. You could use one of your trimmers, you know, like the Stampin' Up! Trimmer or the Creative Crafts trimmer. That way you can bring your blade, you can pop your piece in here. You can bring the blade down to where you want it and then cut as far down as you want, lift it up, move it over. I find this is really handy for doing this style of card. But like I said, you can do it simply using your scoreboard and a ruler. So that's what I'm going to do. So with this piece, we need to make some score lines. The first score line is at 1.5. We want to come down to 1.5 and score. So from 1.5, we're scoring all the way down to 5.5. We're going to move our ruler over, and at the 2.5-inch track, now this is why I have all these colored lines in here. I know my green ones are at the half and my pink ones are at the even numbers. Well, you know, the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4 are all pinks, and then 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, etc. are all greens. So I find this really handy. So I know if I put my ruler up at the 2.5 line here, and then I know I need to be on the green line here. So once I have my ruler lined up with the track, I then know I need to come down from 1.5, scoring down to 5.5. I'm going to do the same at 3 3/4. Now I know that my 3 3/4 is going to be between the green and the pink. So it's not 3.5. It's 3 3/4. So I know this is the track I need to line up with. So again, I'm going to score from 1.5 down to the 5.5. Next, I want to score at the 5-inch. Now my paper is in there. I'll just bring my scoring tool and go the whole way through. Then I'm moving over to 6 1/4. I'm going to start at 1.5 and use my scoring tool down to 5.5. Then I'm moving over to 7.5, and again I'm scoring from 1.5 all the way down to 5.5. And then finally I'm moving over to 8.5, and again I'm scoring from 1.5 all the way down to 5.5. Once I've that done, I then want to rotate my cardstock around. Again, I'm going to use my ruler. These two lines are cutting lines, but the score line is going to help us when we're doing our cutting. So again, I'm bringing my ruler over to the 1.5 track. I'm coming down 1.5, and I'm scoring from 1.5 all the way down to 8.5. Then I'm going to move my ruler over to the 5.5 mark, and I'm going to line it up with the track here, and I'm going to score again from 1.5 all the way down to the 8.5. Once I have those score lines in, I then want to cut from the top here on the right and the top on the left. I want to cut down those two score lines we've made. And again, you can use your trimmer because you can drop the blade into place, cut down and lift the blade up, or you can use a craft knife and your ruler to do it. Now I have it done already. I used my Creative Craft Products trimmer that I showed you earlier to cut my two lines, and I'm delighted with that. So that's all the scoring for that. Next thing I want to show you is this piece. This piece is going to sit in here like so. Now, you could cut two strips here and here, and then a strip for in here if you want, but it's fairly easy to cut this piece. All you need is a piece that measures 6 3/4 by 4 3/4, and then we're going to do some cutting on this. So again, you can use your ruler, or you can use the guidelines here. So you're scoring from the top at 1 1/4. If you score all the way down, and we're scoring down to our 3 1/2 line. So if you put your ruler in here like so, at your 1 1/4 mark at the top, and score all the way down to 3 1/2, then come over here, and at 5 1/2 you want to do the same thing again. Score all the way down to 3 1/2. And then where you have your score line stopping at 3 1/2, just join that up. You can use a pencil to join that up if you wanted, or you could score it. A pencil I found was easier. I just drew a line between the two there, and then I took my trimmer and I cut this piece out, and then that'll give you that. I think that's pretty simple. I hope I've explained it simply enough. You're coming up to 1 1/4, you're scoring all the way down to 3 1/2, you're coming over to 5 1/2, and you're scoring all the way down again to 3 1/2. And where those 2 points meet, you're doing a pencil line, and then you're cutting that shape out. And that'll give us our filler piece for that. Now you could do the same again and put another piece here. You could put a white piece here, but what I'm going to do is I have cut this piece out. It's 6 3/4 by 1 1/4, and I'm going to pop that on the back there. This is going to be the back of the card. It's going to be a place that I can write a little message, because when this is all folded up into its step, you don't really have anywhere to write. So what I would do is take a nice little piece of paper, put a message if I wanted to put, you know, dear John, thinking of you this year, blah, 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 blah. You could add that in, or on this piece, and it'll be turned around this way. You can just put to John with lots of love from the James family, or whoever your family is, you know, you can do that. So that's what this little strip is. It's just to put a note. Okay, so we have those pieces there. We have our card base done, and I'm going to go through folding that with you shortly. What I want to do is just look at the rest of the pieces that I have here before we go any further. So first of all, I'm going to look at this. This is a piece of 3, and it's just over 3 1/4. This was a scrap piece, hence the reason it's this measurement. So you can have your piece 3 1/4 or 3 1/2. It's up to you. So we'll say 3 1/4 by 4 inches. On the 4-inch side, we want to do some score lines. We're going to score at 1/2, at 1, 1 1/2, 2, 2 1/2, 3, 3 1/2. So every 1/2 inch increment we folded. This is going to be folded in the accordion style. So a mountain, a valley, a mountain, a valley, a mountain, a valley, and a mountain. This piece is for our stepper piece inside. It's to keep it from splaying open too much. That's what this piece is for. You don't necessarily need this piece, but if you find that your stepper is splaying open and you don't like that, then you can use this. Next, I've used some of the decoupage pieces. You can see them here. I have this one. This is from a different decoupage sheet. I have a little holly and another of the little robins. So I'm going to get to these in a minute. With this decoupage piece, you can see the top here has these cutouts. It had the same at the bottom. I didn't want this on the bottom, so I just fussy cut around it. Then I did the same with this piece. It had a straight bottom, and the same with this. I just fussy cut around the bottom of these as well. I've also got 3 little snowdrifts I've made. These pieces measure 3 3/4 by, and my pieces were about 2 inches wide. And you can see here I've done some snowdrifts in them. Again, you want to do the same. You want to make sure that they're taller than your stepper pieces in here. So I have cut my snowbanks down. I have, this one is for my back, this one is for the front, and then this one is for the middle, like so. So I'd recommend cut the snowbanks once you have your card base folded. You can judge then how high up you want your snowbanks or how low down you want them. Then, like I said, I've taken this little robin piece from another of the decoupage pieces. I'm going to add this across the bottom just to embellish it, because it's picking up the robins that we have in our pieces here. And the little piece of holly, again, it's from another piece of the decoupage, and I'm just going to add that there. I didn't like the way this finished at an end. This piece had a little poinsettia flower. Let me just show you. It had this little poinsettia flower here at the end, but I didn't want to use the poinsettia, so I've cut it off. So my little robins will sit there like that, and then my little piece of holly will go on top there like so. And then I have room to put, you know, to John, lots of love, the James family, or whoever this card ends up going to. So there all our pieces. I have one final piece. I took this Thinking of You at Christmas. It's from the vellum sheets that we got in gold and in black. I took a black sentiment this time. Again, I put my double-sided tape at the back and then cut it out. And I just have this on this white piece because I figured it'll really pop against the red of my card base like so. And again, I have a little robin on there, and I've put some of the foams that came in the kit. So that'll sit there like that on top of our pattern paper. So now that's all our pieces. The next thing we're going to do is fold our stepper card base. So let's go ahead and do that together. So now with our stepper piece, our first score line is going to become a mountain fold. And then our next one will be a valley, a mountain, a valley, a mountain, and a valley. These two here will become mountain folds as well. So I'm going to just give those mountain folds a little bit of shape. Then I'm going to push my first one here, this mountain fold in, and then using, I have my fingers in here and my thumbs, I'm going to use my fingers and thumbs to push this valley down and push it up. It'll be like a mountain on the bottom, but I find doing this helps. So, and this will become a mountain, and this one will then become a valley, and a mountain, and a valley, and then a mountain to finish. So from the back now, I'm going to tease them down. Oops. And then from the front. And this then is our stepper card. Now, if you burnish these, they should sit much better for you. Now I'm going to add my little piece inside, and I found that it's easier to have it, so when you're putting it in, it sits like this. It just makes it easier to pinch it and glue it. So I'm going to do that next, and I'm going to use the quick grab glue just because it'll be easier to attach it and it'll grab it quickly. add a bit of pressure there, close that over, and now you can see the difference. Look at the difference there, how our card doesn't splay open as much. It definitely does need that. I wasn't sure if it would, but I thought I would prep it just in case. So I'm glad I have. It'll close fully now, and then it'll pop open. So I'm delighted with that. I think that looks so cool. So now I'm going to decorate the front of this. I'm going to add my little piece, my thinking of you piece here. And then I'll put our strip to the back. So we have our little bit of holly here with our little bird, and we have used our decoupage as a step back. So we have our lovely layers there, and then at the back we have room to write our message. And I love this. I think it's very cool. You could use this style. You could make this using ephemera. If you have an ephemera pack, you could definitely build up your layers using ephemera, and it's definitely something I think I'll be going to regular as a card idea. So I hope you enjoyed this card 3 with me, another type of step card. So now we're moving on to card number 4, and for this I'm going to make a 5x7 card. My card blank measures 5x7, and to make one you need a piece of 10x7 and score it on the long side at 5 inches. Onto that I have a piece of gold cardstock. This measures 4 7/8 by 6 7/8. Then I have this piece which measures 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. You can see there we'll have just a nice teeny gold border going the whole way along. Next I've taken this piece. It's from one of the sheets that we got. So this piece I have put foam tape on the back, and that's going to sit here on the front. I've also taken the die that we got in this kit. Now we get one large die and it says Santa Claus. This is it here when it's cut out. So I have that die cut out there, and I'm going to pop that. I just noticed I have one little piece still left in it. I'm going to pop that here at the top. I'm going to have my Merry Christmas at the bottom. And you can see here I've got some peel-offs. These are the pinstripe gold peel-offs from Love from Lizi website. They didn't come in the kit, neither did these, the twinkle peel-offs that I have here. I thought that wrapping string around this and then sitting this on top would be really cool. But I thought, what's better than string? Peel-offs. So I'm going to take 3 of my peel-offs and I'm going to put it across kind of at an angle so that they're sticking out, and then this piece will go over the middle. I'm going to embellish the front of the card then with a couple of the little twinkles from the sheet. These are a new range that Lizi has in the website. She has an amazing array of different types of peel-offs, not only the stickers in shapes but also in this style as well. So I'm going to use them to embellish the front. Inside my card then I have this piece. So first of all I have a piece of pattern paper. It's 3/4 of an inch by 4 3/4, and then I have the gold cardstock underneath, which is a little bit bigger. It's 7/8 of an inch by 4 7/8. So that'll go inside at the bottom. I've put some of my double-sided tape on the back of this. I cut this again from the gold sheets as well as my Merry Christmas. So I'm going to have my Santa stop here on top and then this over here, so I can put the person's name or, you know, and there's room for the message. So this is going inside. This is what we've got going on the outside. I'm going to go ahead now and assemble the card, and I'm going to kind of speed through this a little bit because I think it's fairly, you know, explanatory what I'm doing. So once I have this assembled, we'll then look at the finished card together. And there we go. There is our 5x7 Santa Claus first Merry Christmas card. This is a pretty simple card to put together, really, but I think it really does have a nice look about it. I do love it. The only thing I will do now is I'll add some accent glaze to little bits on our Santa Claus, and I'll let that then dry. So that's it, that's card 4. Let's move on now to card number 5. And now we're moving on to card 5. And this is the final card that we're going to make using this. In this kit, we get a little mini Versamark cube and we get some gold embossing powder. It's Love from Lizi gold embossing powder. So I thought I'd show you how I embossed the stamp. Now I did use my own large Versamark ink rather than opening the mini cube. So I have it embossed and now I'm going to go ahead and colour it in. I'm using my zigs to colour this in. I'm not very good at colouring, so but I thought I would leave it in so you could see how I got on with the colouring. Now I have the zig markers that I used. They are all listed in the description down below. I'm not great at colouring, folks. This isn't a fantastic rendering of it, but you know what? It's my version, it's my attempt, and I'm pretty pleased with it. And I think any one of my family that I give this to will be fairly pleased with it as well and won't judge me too harshly. So this is my piece. So having done this, I thought, well, what kind of a card style can I use this on? And just straight into my head popped a swing card. I just love the idea of this being in a card and swinging over and back. So that's what I've done. So I have all the pieces here ready that we will need to make our swing card. I have here a piece of 12x6 cardstock scored at 6. Now, if you don't have 12x12 or 12x6 cardstock, then take a piece of 6x6 and a piece of 6.5x6. On the 6.5 piece, score it at 6 inches. That'll give you a 1/2 inch tab, and then just join your two together using that tab and it'll give you a 6x6 card base. Now with that, we want to be able to embellish this. So I have 2 pieces of pattern paper and they're 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. I've added one to the front piece here, and this is my piece that's going to go on the inside. So I'm going to fold my card base. You don't need to fold the card base now because we're going to do some die cutting. Or if you have a circle cutter, you can use that. So we have our piece on the outside and this piece is going to go on the inside. I thought having this darker color on the inside would make this piece pop. Okay, So next then I have this piece. It measures 6 by 3. I've scored it at 1/2 inch, 1.5, 2.5, and we're going to do a mountain fold, a valley fold, and a mountain fold on this piece. So it will give us this shape. So either a W or an M, depending on which way you put it in. Now I like to put it in to my card base like so. So I'll add some glue to the tab here and glue to the tab there. I'll pop that in here, right down to the bottom, just about a 1/16 of an inch up from the bottom. And then I'll add this to the front. And this gives us what is basically called a 10-fold card. So we also need a mechanism for our swinging elements. So I have this piece here. It measures 3 by 1 inches. I've rounded over the ends on one side. I popped this piece in here and I did a little score line down through the middle at 1/2 inch. Now you could come this way and do a score line at 1/4 inch, and that'll give you a cross here in the middle. That's where I've punched a little hole. I've also this piece here. It measures 1/2 inch by 3 inches. I've scored it at 1/2, 1.5, and 2.5. This piece is going to get folded in half, and then these two little tabs will fold back like so. So it'll give you this shape. So this will sit inside in our card like that, and when it closes over, it'll give us a hanging down piece like that inside, where we can attach this piece, and we'll use a brad to join these two pieces together. That'll give us our swinging mechanism, which we can then attach this piece to. Now you could use acetate for this piece, so that if you know your piece is going to be seen, then you really, the acetate, it'll be hidden. But I think it'll be hidden behind the opening that we're going to die cut out. So let's talk about that next. So this piece I die cut out, and I used the Love from Lizi nesting circles. I used that to die cut out the round shape. I then took the next size up, which is this piece. As you can see, it's bigger. And then I missed one and took the next size up again. So when these two dies are taped together and put through your die cutting machine, it'll cut out a frame. And that's what I wanted. I wanted a frame like so. And the reason for that is, when we die cut out our opening, we'll have a lovely gold frame going around. Now, we could have die cut it out in blue, the same as the card base, but I went with gold because we have gold embossing, and I'm going to accentuate the card. I'm going to use a sentiment, which I have here, a magical Christmas. This is one I cut from the vellum. I stuck it onto the back of, onto the front of this blue cardstock that matches. So I was thinking I might pop this up here, so it'll hide any of the workings if we can see it. I don't think we'll see any of the workings. And then I have this bow here. I was thinking I might add that at the bottom. I may not. You know me, I may very well put this at the bottom and add this up at the top. I think that actually looks better. So that's probably what I'll do. Yeah. So that's all the pieces that we need. Now we need to die cut a hole through this. So the die that I used to die cut out here, so we have our two dies that die cut out our frame. I'm going to take the smaller of the two, and I'm going to use that to die cut out my opening in my card. So we'll open our card like so when it goes through the die cutting machine, and I want to kind of make sure it's got about the same amount on this side as this. Now if I'm putting my little sign here at the bottom, I'll want to make sure that I can see my Santa, so there won't be too much hanging down. So I think a little bit higher than centered. So if I was to put this die in here and center it, it'd be there. So I might go up a little bit higher. So that's where I'm going to put my die. So now I've put this through my die cutting machine, and you can see here I've taken a scrap of cardstock and put it over the top, and that helps to keep my pattern paper and my card below from getting damaged. I had it hanging off the edge of the die cutting machine so I could bring it up and bring it back, and it didn't affect. I find sometimes if your plates are very worn, it can mark your card base. So that's just a little tip. Use some computer paper or waste paper that you have. I won't use this again now because there's the mark from the embossed outline of the die underneath. So just any scrap paper you have. I rolled it through once and then back again, and I use the Sizzix Big Shots Plus, and you can see here, I can see on the back it has cut through my 2 layers no problem. Now I do have to make sure I take off the double-sided tape really gently. So you can see here, I've this literally folded back on itself, and I'm going to pull it away, and I did it really slowly, and this is literally pressed down on the back of the paper. I find that's a really helpful way of taking it off. Now I'm going to try and save this piece, so I'm going to pull my double-sided or my low-tack tape, and again I'm keeping it pressed down against the paper behind. See there, I'm literally running it over, and that's come off perfectly. So I have this piece now. There is nothing wrong with it. I could put a little bow on the top of this with a ribbon, and that could be a bauble for my Christmas tree. That's a clever idea. I like that. I'm going to go with that. I'm definitely going to do that with this. I'm going to put the 2 together in for, you know, in the envelope. So yeah. Okay. So, and we do have our ribbon. Remember, we have our ribbon to do our loop, and we can make a bow or use one of the 2 bows. So that's an idea there. I'm going to put that over there to the side to remind me. Okay. So we have that done. I'm just going to clean off my desk. Now, the next thing is your pattern paper. So you can go ahead and stick that in now, or you can glue down this piece. So if you glue it so that it's in your W shape, glue this tab down. So I'm sticking this in place, and I'm just bringing it down a little bit. I don't want it to be lined up with the edge. I want it to be just lifted up a little bit. And now I'm going to give that a minute to dry before I go doing anything else, so I can know that's set. Again, we could add the pattern paper now if we want, but I want to add this little mechanism. The first thing I want to do is, using my quick grab glue, I'm going to add some glue to this piece here. I'm going to fold it in half, and you can see here my little tabs are still sticking open. I didn't glue them, just the middle part there. If we glue this into place now and then put our pattern paper in, it'll hide that little tab up there as well, hide our little workings. So I'm going to do that. Now this needs to be centered in here. So you can do 2 things. You can take your ruler, and you can take a pencil, and you can put a mark there at 3 inches. Or you can do what some people do, and you can just go ahead and guesstimate it. So it's really up to you, whatever your preference is. So I do like to have the little mark there. So I know now that that mark needs to be halfway there on our tab. Now where these two close together, there in the middle, this part is going to sit over the score line. So I'm going to sit this part over the score line, and I'm going to make sure that it's at the 3-inch mark. So if you want to be sure, you can always pop your ruler down, and that's as good as halfway. So now I'm happy with that. Now that that's in there and that's drying, I'm going to add my pattern paper, and for this I'm going to go back to the collal glue. Now we have that done, we can add our mechanism and our focal point to it. So this piece needs to go on here, and then this piece will go on here. So I need a brad now, so that's the next thing I'm going to get. So I have my brad or my split pin, whichever you like to call it, depending on where you're from. You won't see this, so hence the reason I'm going with this color. You could put a brass or a silver or a gold or even a blue one if you have it. I'm just going with this one. So now with your split pin or your brad, you want to spread the little legs. Now a little tip that I got from Mixed Up Crafts is take your pokey tool, if you have a pokey tool, and bend the leg over your pokey tool, both of them. The reason you do this is it allows for movement for your mechanism. So the brad or the split pin is, the legs are closed, but we have a little gap here where they bend over, and I find this is a very clever thing to do whenever using a split pin, unless you don't want it to move. But there we are, we have our mechanism. It's kind of hard to show you in this position, but when it's like that, it works perfectly. Now I'm going to close over my card, and you see there my little brad is hidden, it can't be seen. And then I'm going to add this piece. So it's kind of hard to gauge like which way is the right way, you know, am I going straight with this? But Christy Marcotte, who is another design team member for Love from Lizi, she was saying in adding this down to look at the 3 lines here. I think this is like a wooden background or whatever, but if these 3 lines are straight, then you pretty much have a good looking Santa, whereas if they're off, it kind of looks a bit wonky. So I'm going to go with that, Christy. Thanks for the tip. So that'll sit in there like so. Now you can see here, before I glue that on and we close the bottom up, I've got my little frame to add on here. So I'm going to do that next, I think. And then I'll add this over our opening. And I want to make sure that it's in there nice and evenly. I'm happy with that. I can fold that down now, and I can add a little bit of pressure down onto that so that it catches. Isn't that lovely? Now we need to add some glue to our piece here. So like I said, you could have cut this in acetate, but I have done it in the blue cardstock. So now we need to add some glue to this piece, and our little Santa is going to sit in there, but you can see there it's not going to hide the whole thing. When it's sat evenly, it'll be like so. So we need to make sure that that is nice and straight in there. So I'm just standing it up so that it's hanging straight. I'm going to pinch it closed, and that way now I know this piece is straight. I'm going to add some glue to this. Again, you can use some double-sided tape. I know it won't come up the whole way. And you want to be careful that you don't get any over the edge there. I don't want it to stick to the pattern paper at the back. So I'm just pushing it closed there. And now, keeping my lines nice and straight, I'm going to add that down like so. And I want to make sure that my border is more or less the same, and I think it is. I think that'll do. Anyone judging that now crooked, they won't get another Christmas card off me. I think that's perfect. So there we go. It'll swing. It's kind of hard to show you here, but you can see there's a good swing on it. And all we need to do now is add some glue to this piece here at the bottom. So there we go now. I hope you can see that swinging. It looks lovely. I love this style of card. Add a little bit to the back of my bow and just a little bit there on the legs as well. And I'm going to glue that down like so. Add a little bit of pressure. And I'm gluing it on here to the frame because I don't want it, you know, I don't want these little legs hanging down in front of my Santa. So that's why I have glued it there. Lovely. So they look like little ornaments on the tree. That's smashing. Love that. So now, there we go. There is card number 5, and that is our swing fold card. And it looks lovely. We've got our gold foiling pattern paper behind our element that we've gold embossed and colored. All I need to do is add a piece of 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 white cardstock to the back of this and add a sentiment. And you know what? Before I finish up, I'm just going to do that next. So here we are with our piece of white cardstock. You can see I've added a season's greeting on the back using the vellum and double-sided tape. I've also used some of the twinkles and a strip of the pattern paper. The front, our card sits down beautifully like so. Our card stands like so, and it swings. It's kind of hard to show you the swinging motion. So we have our swing fold card, and I just love it. I think it turned out great. I'm really pleased with my colouring. It isn't as good as the frugal crafter Lizi or any of the other colorists out there, but for my attempt, I have to say I'm very pleased, and it encourages me to actually use that stamp now and colour it in again. I honestly didn't spend more than 20 minutes colouring that in, and I'm delighted with how it turned out. There is a little bit of bleeding with the red, but I mean, red is notorious for doing that, but it looks handmade, and that is what we're going for with handmade cards. So let's have a recap now with all the cards we've made in today's video. So if you're still here at this point, well done you. I know it's a long video for just 5 cards, but it was very hard to edit it down without losing a lot of content. So I do hope you've enjoyed my video. If you have, you might give it a thumbs up, click the subscribe button, ding the bell. That way when I post another video, you'll be notified. So if you make any of these cards using the kit, I'd love for you to share them on social media with us on our Facebook group, which is Your Cards and Crafts, or the Love from Lizi Facebook group. And I'll leave links to those down below. I'll leave links to the website where you can purchase this kit, peel-offs and lots of other products on the Love from Lizi website. Don't forget that down in the description are the measurements to all 5 cards, as well as the timestamps. So if you want to look at, we'll say, card 2 or card 4, you can just look at the timestamp down there and then just quickly go to that time on the video. So I'm going to leave it there. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and bye for now. Bye bye.